Hello students, welcome back to the economics class of plus 1 standard. Today we will discuss lesson number 16, collection of data. In this chapter students, you will learn about primary and secondary data, methods of collecting primary data, sources of data and main sources of secondary data, methods of collecting data, methods of sampling, sampling and non-sampling errors, reliability of sample data, factors affecting reliability of sample data. Today we will cover the topics primary and secondary data, methods of collecting primary data. So let's start with the introduction of how to collect the data. Whenever we have to solve the problems related to economics, we will require relevant data. For example, if we desire to analyze the performance of Indian economy over the last decades, we have to collect the data on income, output from all the sectors like industrial, agriculture and tertiary sector, employment, exports, imports and rate of inflation, etc. These are the desired economic variables. The source of information may be primary or secondary. When we collect the data through a survey, that is called primary data. But if we collect the data from the internet, newspaper, magazines or the books, that is called secondary data. Key macroeconomic variables are there like national income and GDP, unemployment, economic growth, inflation, international trade, balance of payment, monetary and fiscal policy, interest rate, stock market, business cycle and exchange rate. First of all, we will discuss primary data. National income data collected by CSO, Central Statistical Organization, data collected by a person from a factory about the wages of workers etc. is primary data. These data is called primary because it is collected from the beginning to the end. So the data which is collected by the investigator for the first time for a specific purpose, these data are called original data. Like while the census period, the person who has given the duty to collect the data from different regions, that collected data, that is known as primary data. Secondary data. National income data collected by Central Statistical Organization, data collected by Reserve Bank of India is primary data. But when this data it is used by the other people for different purposes, that data will be called as secondary data. So secondary data is the data which is collected by someone and used by someone else, that is known as secondary data. So data collected from magazines, newspapers, books is called secondary data. Now we will discuss the difference between primary and secondary data. First one is primary data. Definition: data which is collected originally by Central Statistical Organization or National Sample Survey Organization, that is known as primary data. Next one is secondary data. Data collected through other sources like newspapers, magazines, books, etc., that is known as secondary data. Nature of data. Data is in the form of raw material to which statistical methods are applied. Under the secondary data, data is in the form of finished product as it has already been statistically applied. Next one is object. Under the primary data, data collected for specific purpose like census. In this data about the population, it is collected to know about the rate of growth of population. Next one is data collected from published or unpublished sources. Under this primary data, as the investigator himself collect the data first time, so lots of time and money it is required for collection of primary data, because he has to make a use of paper, pen, petrol, transport also. So these kind of expenditure are incurred while the collection of primary data. Time and money it is saved in case of secondary data, because we no need to go from place to place to collect the data. By sitting on a same place through the internet or through the different books or newspaper, we can collect the data according to our purpose. Next one is stability, suitability. Under the primary data, data is strictly in accordance with the investigation. But under the secondary data, data is made according to the object of the investigation. Choice between two, primary data and secondary data. Now the question arises, which of the two types of data it is better, whether the primary data or secondary data. In fact, the investigator has to decide whether he will collect data or he will compile them himself from other published or unpublished sources. Published and unpublished sources means, in some industries there is a annual report about the growth and development of the industries, that is known as published data. So choice depends upon the following considerations like nature and scope of inquiry, availability of time and money, degree of accuracy, the status of the investigator, that is whether he is individually he is collecting data or he is working in some private agency for which he has to collect the data, and or he is a government employee, according to the government instructions or the guidelines he is collecting the data. So most of the statistical analysis rests upon the secondary data. Primary data is used in those cases where secondary data do not provide adequate or accurate information. Nowadays, secondary data is increasingly being used as it is easily available. In certain cases, both primary and secondary data are used. Secondary data are used in order to see the comparison, to see that what is the difference between the current data and the previous data records. Methods of collecting primary data. First one is direct personal investigation, indirect oral investigation, information through correspondence, information through mailed questionnaire, information through enumerators. So we will discuss all these points one by one with their merits and demerits. Direct methods of collecting primary data. First one is direct personal investigation. Data is collected by asking questions by the investigator related to the enquiry. For example, if you want to know about the production scale of an industry and wage rate, you will go personally to the industry and collect the data from the entrepreneur. So merits of direct personal investigation. First one is investigators' approach the people personally. Second point is information is reliable. Third point is direct personal investigation is flexible. The interviewer can ask different types of questions by keeping in mind the informant's reaction. Like, suppose if we have asked from the entrepreneur about his own income, and if he is not in a mood to tell or discuss about his income, the interviewer can immediately change the question. So, the language of communication can be adopted according to the educational standard of the people. Next one is investigation is more appropriate where the scope of inquiry is limited and accurate information is highly required. Demerits of direct personal investigation. This method is unsuitable where the number of people interviewed is large and they are spread over a large area. So, it becomes difficult for the interviewer that go to the faraway places in order to interview the persons. So, suffers from chances of personal bias. Personal bias means maybe there is favoritism, it is there. Next one is involves unnecessary wastage of time and money. Like if the interviewer have to interview the person, one is living in Amritsar and another person is living in Jalandhar, so he has to spend the money to go from Amritsar to Jalandhar. So time and money wastage both it is there. If the interviewer is not properly trained, the results thus obtained would be elusive. Like if the entrepreneur he is not trained enough to see the expressions of the interviewer and he is unable to change his questions. So a complex method it is there, that is direct personal investigation, as the interviewer has to be very alert while asking the questions from the persons. Indirect oral investigation. If a case of a murder is to be investigated, the investigator will collect the information through other people in order to catch the culprit. Or in the same way, if there is a case of robbery or any kind of scam it is there, then the interviewer will investigate, the investigator will collect the information through other people in order to catch the culprit. So, indirect oral investigation means when the interviewer collects the information from other people to know the truth. In indirect oral examination, the interviewer has to cross-examine other persons who are supposed to have knowledge about the problem under investigation and the information obtained is recorded. Merits of indirect oral investigation. Economical means no much wastage of time and money, as the interviewer can start the interview on the video or on the phone calls also. Suitable methods where the scope of inquiry is wide. Data collected under this method will not be biased, as the interviewer is not knowing about the person he is interviewing. Through different types of people, the investigator can know the reality. Next point is suitable when complex data is to be collected. Demerits of indirect oral investigation. There is a possibility of data being wrong if the informant do not possess the true knowledge. Data is not collected from the concerned people directly. They are liable to be wrong. There is a fear of biased information also in the indirect oral investigation, like if the parents are not at home and only the children are there at home and they are not knowing about the exact birth of date of their parents and their occupation, then they can give the wrong information to the interviewer also. Information through correspondence. In this method, information is not collected personally. Rather, he appoints local agents or correspondents in different parts of the field of enquiry. They send the information to the central office where the data it is processed. Next one is radio, television and newspaper agencies etc. generally adopt this method. Merits of information through correspondence. First one is information through correspondent is economical, means there is lesser wastage of time and money. As in the different regions there are different persons are there to collect the information and to forward it. Provides information quickly from the different states or regions or different parts of the country, we can quickly get the information. Information is regularly supplied. What is happening in the same place, like floods in Gujarat nowadays, information it is very quick and on the regular basis we can come to know the situation of the Gujarat. So suitable to the cases where the information is to be obtained from a wide areas. Demerits of information through correspondence. The job for obtaining information is left to the correspondents and thus collected data lacks accuracy and originality. Data is likely to be biased, means the interviewer can be believes in the favoritism. So data is sent by correspondents by using different methods. There is a lack of uniformity of data. Next one is information through mailed questionnaire. Under this method, questions to be asked pertaining to the field of investigation is sent to the informants by post along with a covering letter to fill up the questionnaire and send it back within a specified time. Generally, a self-addressed stamped envelope is enclosed for returning the questionnaire by post. Investigation through mailed questionnaire. Under this method, the investigator may either appoint local agents, investigators or enumerators and mail them the questionnaire for collecting information or collecting by his own using mail or telephone. Merits of information through mailed questionnaire. Suitable where the field of enquiry is wide. Like we want to come to know about the different regions like Mumbai, Delhi. So area it is very far away from each other. So in these areas the field of enquiry it is wide. Economical as less money and less time is used in collection of data and data is reliable also. Demerits of information through mailed questionnaire. This type of collection of information it is limited to the literate people, as literate people can frequently answer the question paper, but if the persons are illiterate or any word or any sentence he can't able to understand and he will give the incomplete questionnaire back. So informants send back incomplete questionnaire in case of illiteracy. Not a flexible method, as if any question in the questionnaire it is not good from the interview who is giving the interview according to his point of view, then the interviewer cannot change the question immediately. In this way, this method is not flexible. Informants can give wrong information also. Questionnaire through enumerators. Information is collected on the basis of questionnaire through the enumerator, that is interviewer. Enumerator goes himself to the informants. For this, enumerator should be intelligent, trained, honest and impartial. Merits. This method can be adopted for illiterates. Less possibility of no reply if in any case the person showing that he is not happy with our questions, that we can change the question immediately, or we can explain the question in different way to the interviewer so that he can answer our question. Complex and difficult questions can be asked, because if there is a face-to-face interview it is there, in that case we can explain the difficult question to the interviewer so that he can answer it easily. Information received is more accurate as we are very careful about the answer, or we are very attentively taking the interview of the interviewer, free from personal bias. There is no impartiality, it is there while asking the questions in the interview. Demerits: enumerator may be biased. Costly methods, as lots of money is spent on the enumerator in the form of wages, traveling allowances, DNS allowances, etc. Essentials of a good questionnaire. A good questionnaire must possess the following: covering letter. The person conducting the survey must introduce himself and make the aims and objectives of the survey clear to the informants. This can be done by attaching a covering letter with the questionnaire. Questionnaire should be simple and clearly worded. Questions should be short and simple. The number of questions should be small as far as possible. Only those questions should be asked which are related to the investigation. Personal questions should be avoided. For example, questions about sources of income, volume of sales, etc. should not be asked. Prohibited questions like personal information which people don't want to share should not be asked. Questions which require calculations like annual income should also be avoided. Cross-check questions should be asked to find the truth. Clear-cut instructions should be given to the informant that he will not give the wrong answer. If he don't want to give the answer for any question, he should be quiet but don't give the wrong information. If a particular question is of a complex nature, the same should be clear in the footnote. Some incentives should be given to the informant for filling up the questionnaire. Before sending the questionnaire to the informant, it should be pre-tested. Pilot survey. Once the questionnaire is prepared, it is advisable to conduct a survey on a small group for pre-testing of questionnaire. In this way, we can come to know about the mistakes in our questionnaire, or we can come to know about the irrelevant questions. Through this pilot survey, the investigator comes to know the drawbacks of the questions included in the questionnaire. And this pilot survey helps in assessing the performance of enumerators, cost and time involved in the actual survey. So hope students you have understood the primary collection of data. Now it's time to note down the homework. Our first question is define the following terms with examples: primary data, secondary data. Second question is differentiate between primary data and secondary data. Question number third is discuss the different methods of collecting primary data. And students, please go through the links on the YouTube also for more clarity, and hope you all will complete your notes in your fair copies for better learning also. So thank you students for listening.